January 27th, 2025, this Crestone Board of Trustees meeting is being held both in person and via Zoom. The time is 9:37. To ensure timely completion of the town's business, the following procedures will be followed. All participants must keep microphones muted and videos turned off except during citizens' comments or when to speak on when called on to speak on by the board. For 7.3 of our procedures and rules of order, we allow 15 minutes total for citizens' comments. Each speaker has up to 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and address before speaking. If your comments exceed 3 minutes or the allotted time expires, please send your comments to town hall as correspondence for the board's response. If multiple citizens share the same comments, please be brief. Unspoken comments can be submitted to town hall for inclusion as correspondence at the next regular meeting. First, we're going to start with roll call. Ariana, please.
Mayor Byron.
Here.
Trustee Lakai. Trustee Martinez.
Here.
Trustee Kozlowski.
Here.
Trustee Mamonakis.
Here.
Trustee Kinney and Trustee Oglesby are absent with notice.
Next, we got the vision statement. Wanna read that, Sean? Trustee Mamonakis, will you read it? It's right behind you.
All right.
Yeah.
The historic Crestone, Colorado exemplifies small mountain town beauty within the community committed to multi-generational well-being. The town continues to celebrate its pioneering spirit and unique diversity through contemporary self-reliance. Crestone goals are to enhance economic viability, environmental preservation, sustainable living practices, and social responsibility.
Thank you. Next, we have approval of agenda.
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
There are a few updates. Why don't we get a second and we'll do it in discussion.
I'll second.
Okay. So we need to add a couple letters from Elaine and Steve that need to go on the agenda somewhere. I don't have a written agenda, so I can't.
It's on there as an item.
Oh, is it?
And I've added them to the packet. If for people
Oh,
who
I
are
see.
online, it'll be available on our website, townofcrestone.gov.
What else do we have to add?
Jimmy.
Jenny Ducal has a request to schedule a meeting with the school board to discuss looking at the land to the west of the trail. So let's put that on as I don't know. New business, is she gonna be here?
Yeah.
New business D. We need a paper, do we have a paper copy? Of the agenda?
Yeah, printing it out.
Oh, okay. So we'll add that, and then what else? Needs to-
And then, the Baca Grande agreements were sent by the lawyer. I'm adding them online as we speak and trying to print paper copies.
There's some redlined agreements that are online and we'll discuss that. I'm gonna move that up because put it under attorney's report 12. A 12A. That's it, I think. Is that correct?
That's all.
Okay,
So I changed my motion to approve the agenda as amended.
your second?
A second.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Passed. Next is approval of minutes, which we
We'll have the regular board meeting on the tenth,
have them. Oh, you don't have them?
on the tenth.
Oh, on the tenth, you'll have them, yeah. Moving along to citizens' comments, 6. Well, you're also gonna be on the agenda, I don't know if you want.
Okay,
Is it,
whatever,
Rebecca, we can
whatever
move.
works for you guys, if it's gonna be late though, maybe I could leave and come back.
I think the only thing is that we have the attorney online, so I was thinking we could do the Baca water and sanitation thing, and then you.
Sure.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's, citizens' comments, no, anybody online wanna give a citizen's comment?
Yeah, I do. Dan Gray, I wish you guys could speak into the microphones, please.
Is that better, Dan?
Yes.
Thank you. Sean, will you, put the got it button on the screen there? Thank you.
Hello, Daniel.
Any other citizens' comments? All right, we'll move along on to presentation of bills. Anything that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
got a question of, first off, I thought staff members as well were going to, as if these bills may have related to their department, would also sign. I haven't seen anything from Brent on the electric for the water.
Yeah, I didn't have him sign it. But I can do it too. And pass it on to all the board.
So when you talk with him, I'll sign this, but when you talk with him, there were a number of meters that are reading in comparison to last January, about 3 times higher than this January.
thank you.
Was that water meters
It
then?
could be, these are not water meters, these would be the electricity for the wells. Also, I don't know what this thing is from the treasury's office, I've never seen it. Because that-
Property taxes. Property tax, There's no reason why we have a property tax bill?
If I may. So, why were the readings higher? Do we know?
Pardon
Do
me?
we know why the readings
Where's
were
Brent?
higher?
I don't know.
Wanna ask him? Brent? Real quick, we just wanna ask about a bill,
Electric bill, they're in here. I was hoping to get your signature on them for approval before I signed it. Or the board approved it, but there's some questions that I got from. And they may not all apply to your department. But for the January reading, in comparison to last January reading on some of those meters. Was about 3 times higher this year than last year. If you would just check those account numbers and try to. And match them with your pumps. You don't have to do it right now, if you don't need to take some time, yeah, that's fine. Okay. Yeah.
Did you have any notes you wanted to give me on which ones you saw?
I was just reading it off those, if you look through the file, I might not have put them all back in sequence. So just look
Compare
through
it to those.
the box in the mid-page left side, maybe lower half. That gives the, shows the difference from November, December, January of last year, or January, February, March, I can't remember now. But January was different.
Does it have anything to do with the apartment? then?
I have no idea, I don't know where those account numbers.
We didn't talk about this.
What's there?
Yeah, we're getting, or some of them, oh, one's redlined. This is the red line, so it shows what changed.
Look like she gave us, so these are ones to pass along.
No, there are two different, there are four, because there's the original, the one that we started with, the one that they've changed on both of them.
Okay.
Okay. What do you wanna do about that bill with, the county?
We only look into it for.
Yeah, because we're not supposed to be paying any property taxes, I assume, unless there's some weird. Next on the agenda, so we good with the bills, pay the bills,
Yeah, I think so.
will you make a motion?
Make a motion that we, pay the approved bills for the month of January.
Pay the bills.
Pay the bills.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, bills are paid. Those ones, Sean. Trustee Mamonakis. Next, we have on the agenda, treasurer's report. We're gonna talk about that down. Really, it's, unless you have some other stuff to report.
No, we wanna hold off on this.
Yeah.
I'm happy to go next.
Okay, next we have, finance committee report. Again, we're in a holding pattern until we get more information from our auditor and our accountant.
We do have minutes of that meeting?
No,
We did.
oh, you did, oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry, I'm sorry.
And, they weren't made part of the packet, but. Let me get to them and I will real quickly read them to you. We had the meeting on the 17th. That was pretty good meeting. Over the course of the time that we spent together, it was approximately $90,000. I don't wanna say was taken out of, expenses and put in somebody's, in our revenue side, but, I'll explain in a minute. We rearranged a few things. The $56,000 for the reimbursement for DOLA. And of course, we haven't been billed for that, so we're not 100% sure that that's the correct amount. Was put into restricted reserve. But taken out of the line item where it had been before. There was $13,000 in employees' wages, that was taken out. And Dana had found which brought it up to about 60, some thousand, whatever, 13,000 and 56,000 equal to, that's so 69,000. And the balance of that, if I remember correctly, Dana found several line items where expenses were doubled. And corrected that. And, so that, I think that accounts, if I said it correctly, for approximately the $90,000. They're asking for the format to be changed in the budget. I don't think it requires any board vote or anything like that, but this one is difficult to read and to pinpoint things, and specifically we're looking at the reserve, restricted reserve and the reserve to be put in the same format that was shown on the 24 budget, where it'd be in the top of the list and you see it right up front. The other thing I want to add,
One sec, are you taking notes on this, or you?
I have the email.
yeah, and the other thing I wanted to add was, with the restricted reserve, some questions about the totals that were shown. I think it was 145,000 plus with the water department, and there was another, maybe it was a total of 205 or something. And some change that 205,000 and some odd dollars along with that, and there's no indication of, or there's no description with some exception on what the amounts are for, and I guess what I'm getting at, as far as the restricted reserve, we need to be more detailed and explanation of what that, if we're ever to pull that out of where it's going. It just, is my understanding, it just can't go anywhere. It has to go specifically for, correct me if I'm wrong, Warren, I didn't say warden. Where it's supposed to go, or where it came from, what it was used for, where it's supposed to
And
go.
then there was something where, because of the income being changed, that the reserves changed as well, is that, you said it was like going from 77,000 to 89,000, is that right?
Yes, it was, in that area, you don't have that, that came up after it. It was-
After you had talked to, Dennis about changing the reserves a little bit more, because we adjusted we were short.
So there's still, in the water and sewer for one, there doesn't show, money for 2023. And I believe money was also taken out of water and sewer to pay the, 10,999 loan payment for the 2 years. And that doesn't show up
In 23? Oh, or
since 23.
since,
So the money, I believe there should have been money put into capital reserves in 23. And then in 23 and 24, money was, I believe, taken out of capital reserves, at least to the tune of
10,000.
like the 1099, and then, but there's no way, that doesn't show up at all. So you don't know whether we need to put another $40,000 or $60,000 into reserves. We don't have.
Right. Thank you. The dollar amount, in that line item 4104-1 is $89,388. Is what we think it should be from this, what's in parentheses now, 77,000 and some.
Can you say that number?
4104-1.
It's the line, that's the line.
But, yeah, but the amount is,
$89,388.
no.
What's in there now
Talking
is-
about for the budget 25?
Yeah.
That line?
Yes.
For the year 25, it should be 77,142 going in. Plus 68,106 from 24, plus whatever. This shows the 23 unaudited actual as at the end of 23 of being 89,000. So you're either gonna add 89,000
To
to
the
the
77.
68 to the 77, so you'll be up over $200,000.
And that's where the 205 come in?
That may be a.
So let's get Ariel to try to find a way to reformat that. Maybe there's other, like a template or something we can use.
And the dollar amount Warren's talking about, it will be $205,836.
Which is right.
No,
No?
if it's 145 and call it 90. That's not.
135 there,
What's that? Yeah, so yeah, it's closer to 230.
230.
Yeah,
Can
let me do the old fashioned.
we do this, when we get to the budget? Not
Sure.
because we're really just getting detail, it's more just a report from the finance committee.
All right, and it's just very quickly, I want to start here and communicate with Ariel about getting specifics on the 25 health stipends, insurance costs. And again, verification on a lot of the electrical meters and their location and numbers. So we help that along a little bit more. And I think that kind of hits the points, with one exception, is we're going into the tax filing year. And everybody on that side of the fence doing reports for other municipalities and companies and individuals they're gonna be getting more and more busy, so it's of the utmost importance that we try in some way of pushing the auditor and the bookkeeper a little bit to get us the stuff we need.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I could see this going into March, possibly even April.
She's gonna contact them today,
Andrew?
Andrea, right? And have her contact Ronnie and just see where we're at.
Just try to hit the bullet points there, Warren. I don't know if there's anything you want to add.
No.
Okay.
We'll talk more about it after we go through this stuff, cause, it seems like we kinda gotta get a little deeper into it with numbers. Next, we have, mayor's report. The only thing I really had to report on was that we met with our engineer, regarding, cemetery expansion. And they're just looking over the whole thing and what it would take, you know. They're just gonna give us a quote basically on what it would cost to have an engineer design, if we, you know, professional design that takes into account a few things. One is, you know, what cemeteries are gonna be in the future, because our cemetery is so old that, you know, 20 by 20 spaces might not be what they're using nowadays. We don't know exactly, you know, what people are using. We don't know how many trees you wanna take out. There's a bunch of considerations, so they're gonna give us, some options, and hopefully we'll have that by the next regular meeting. But it was a good call, and, you know, we're just kinda gonna see, if we wanna move forward with them and how much it's gonna cost. And maybe do it in phases. That would be my suggestion, and also bring the public into it. I know that people wanna be involved in it, so it's, can't be something that we just, you know, do on our own, so. There is $10,000 in our 25 budget that we're looking at for the cemetery expansion, but, I have a feeling it's probably gonna be more than that, so again, we're gonna have to do it in phases. Anything else, pretty much, my reports are always, you know, stuff that gets on the agenda, so it's not so much, you know, it's really saying thank you to people for holding the reins while we're on off meetings, because the meetings are really where we can do the work, but when we're not working and thinking about things, then the hands are sort of doing the work, and you guys are definitely the hand, so thank you for holding that in between meetings. As far as this, Baca Grande Water and Sanitation District thing that's gonna come up in a few minutes, I had a talk with Seth about it. Two of the points were just adjusted. We'll kind of fade into that, although we have a clerk's report in between, but what I wanna say is that I think it's close to the point where we can sign it, because the way that the third point, which Kizen brought up about future expansion, we're gonna discuss it a little bit more, but I think I'm ready to sign it and move on. I think it's something that we can definitely, you know, all contracts have gray areas, no matter what. You're never gonna get the perfect, absolutely perfect contract. Yeah. So, we'll talk more about that in a sec. Any questions, comments, concerns? For me,
Regarding what,
mayor stuff, I'm good.
okay,
Do you have anything? Next, we're gonna move on to the clerk's report and then attorney report.
Can you say amount for that?
For then, sure. So then let's move on to attorney report. Hey Seth. Hi.
Hello, Mayor Board. How's my audio coming through?
Good. Very good.
Thank you. I've been able to hear most of what you said, so I haven't had any audio issues from your end. Mayor, if I am reading my agenda right, I think there's two topics that I will be discussing. The first would be the Baca Grand Water and Sanitation District proposed IGA. And then the second would just be an update to the County Road T and any obstructions and some conversations with Mr. Brad Crowell, the Swatch County attorney that I've had. So I would start with Baca Grand and the proposed IGA. The
Yeah,
most
that's-
recent update should be in your packets. That would include the IGA and also the attached Exhibit A, which is the discharge permit. The records that I have state that this has not been changed since January 6th, but there are two copies of everything, so 4 total copies, a red line version and then a clean version. Prior to January 6th, there were 3 items that were desired to be addressed by the town. And if I might paraphrase those, item 1 would be that the discharge permit had an increase from 30,000 gallons per day to 60,000 gallons per day. I have an email from Mr. Locke that change is acceptable to the town. I should get into that a little further. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mayor.
You said to the town, but it's acceptable to the district.
To the district and the town, yes.
Fine.
The electronic copy that I have not printed one out yet. Maybe it prints a little different, but if we are to take some action, I'll discuss that a little further. I'm sorry, let me just jump to that. In Exhibit A, the discharge monitoring requirements table in the electronic version is illegible. I hate to say that. There is a red line copy where the 30,000 gallons per day is struck. However, I cannot see that was changed to 60,000 gallons per day. I am saying that is just a typo. I have not printed a hard copy of that, and that is just verified in my email to Mr. Locke. That was a change
It looks like they took
to make.
30 and turned it into a 60, but it's hard to read for sure.
Correct.
Did they put
So I
it,
will discuss that kind of at the end of my report, basically that if any action is to be taken, it would be contingent upon the discharge permit stating clearly a 60,000 gallon per day limit, and that would be in the discharge monitoring requirements table. Once again, I have not printed a copy of the permit. The electronic version just contains a table that appears to be illegible on my end. I'm going to jump just a little here. The third item is discussing violations of the discharge permit. There was a fine of $5,000 per day in that section. That has been lowered to $1,000 per day. I've had a lot of discussion, and this section does allow for some modification, some remedy by the town. However, if a violation is found, a lot of times there may not be the ability to remedy that right away. A lot of it is preventative and not reactive. So if a violation is found that triggers Baca Grand to be in violation with their state permit, that is a place where a fine could be issued. However, that fine was changed from $5,000 per day to $1,000 per day. A little more contested request of the town was the town's request number 2. And that, if I'm trying to state this clearly, is a perceived divergence in the possible town growth and the growth of the Baca Grand in relation to the cost of a future plant expansion. I've discussed this with Mr. Locke on a few occasions in email and over the phone. This did trigger some addition to language in section 4. I would actually just read that red line section that was added. And this was by Mr. Locke. The cost of constructing any additional capacity beyond what is determined by the district engineer to be needed to accommodate future growth within the town and the district at the time of commencement of any upgrade, expansion, or replacement of the district's wastewater treatment facility shall be paid for exclusively by the district. I have not had discussion with our engineer. What I am being told, though, is that yes, growth is a factor that is used to determine the size of your plant expansion. However, overexpansion or overgrowth of a plant can be counterproductive and is generally not something that is done in the industry. The facility may not work as intended. I think the saying I keep hearing is some of the bugs may not work in the right manner. Your baffles may not work in the right manner if your plant is oversized. If your inflow is basically diluted, the outflow is not what you are trying to get or not what you're being able to achieve if your plant design is bigger than actually what you are using. So yes, growth is taken into account. However, overgrowth, over planning is something that is generally not designed for in these situations. I also had some discussion with our mayor. This really is based on previous 12 months of inflow for the town and the Baca Grande prior to any growth in any plant expansion. So the plant expansion cost is based on the preceding 12 months of inflow from both entities. If the town is basically staying level for the foreseeable future and Baca Grande is growing, Baca Grande's inflow, their percentages would be at a rate that is growing higher than the town. And that would, if I could say, I guess, lower the town's potential share. It just really depends on the growth of the two parties. If the town is not growing and Baca Grande is growing, their share of that plant increase is necessarily going down. All of the figures quoted in this IGA are just for reference or for example. It's not saying that the town is approximately a third of the cost. Those are just numbers that are used for reference. So, with that being said, and that addition to the language of Section 4 by Mr. Locke, that is the current draft that we have in front of us. That was his attempts to remedy and add language that makes the town more comfortable. And if I'd recap, the growth gallons per day was increased from 30,000 to 60,000. There was some language added to Section 4 about potential plant expansion. There was discussion about how a plant would be designed and how that expansion would be designed for. You are not designing for the potential full build out unless you are getting close to that point. You're designing for something in the near future and something that that plant would actually be operating on and processing. And then also the violations for a discharge permit, the cost of that violation was lowered from $5,000 to $1,000 per day. So Mayor, that I was kind of jumping around there, but board action, if any, to be taken. If a motion is made to enter into this IGA, I would ask that it be contingent upon the discharge permit clearly stating a $60,000 per day limit in the discharge monitoring requirements table. That's just I hope that that's just a typo coming
It's
out of
not
my end.
actually,
That's an
Seth, I just looked on the actual like updated version and it does say 60,000. It does say 1,000 for the permit. That's like I have two copies here. One is the red line that was messed up and then the other one is the updated and it looks right, so.
okay. The electronic version of the clean copy, that table is just very illegible. If you have a clean copy in front of you, that is great to hear. And that may have just been a conversion error on the electronic copy and it may have printed clearly. I just was not able to see that.
We have a clear copy.
Okay.
So I would entertain a motion to get this thing finished and signed and we can move on from these negotiations and, you know, rely on this draft, or not this draft, this actual contract to be, you know, used and I'm sure there's gonna be stuff that comes up, but we need to trust that the lawyers have put, you know, we've been working on this for what, a year and a half now, 2 years?
So I will make that motion to approve this currently submitted IGA with the Aqua Water and Sanitation District for the provision of wastewater treatment services to the town of Crestone.
Including the,
And exhibit A of the a discharge, town of Crestone discharge person permit with Baca Grande Water and Sanitation District. We're approving both, correct?
is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion,
I'd like to have a couple of days to read this,
okay,
like, by Wednesday, I'll let you.
the only thing is that we have had a lot of time to read it, and we had came back with those 3 changes and they were adjusted to relative satisfaction. I don't know about, number 4 is, maybe the only one that, you know, but as far as changing it and getting it back to the,
So what are your concerns, Janice?
you know,
Well, I'd just like to read through it. Just one red flag, and it's the violations, and it's one of the things that you had brought up, and I had brought up, coming from different angles. And that's that 60,000 gallon day, and as you had said it, any expansion in what we would be paying for.
So are you asking for more time to review this, Doctor?
I'm just looking for a day or so. I'll be traveling later this afternoon, and I could have it by tomorrow or Wednesday.
Okay, I will withdraw my motion at this time so that the board can further review this document. Can we put it to a vote then this afternoon? Is that what you're asking for?
This afternoon's too soon. I've got my granddaughters here and I've got to get them back to Denver Metro.
So you're asking to take a vote on it this afternoon?
No, I won't be able to.
so the issue is, it's gonna get put on to next meeting. If you have any comments or concerns,
I'll get it to you as quickly as I can.
you're gonna have to give it to the lawyer to give back to the, Locke, and
I
then
will do that.
we're gonna have to review it again.
I will do that.
Okay, I will withdraw my motion then, because we did just get it just this morning. I mean, I looked at the key parts that I was concerned about and I was happy with the changes that were made. But I understand that we just got this morning and we should review it in totality. So I'll withdraw my motion and let's make this be a priority.
First thing, I know the attorney will not be at the next regular meeting.
Okay, I think then if there's anything that comes up that you feel is really a problem, maybe we can.
Can I direct Dennis to just dialogue with you at all, Seth, and maybe you can.
Yes, Mayor, I did provide this draft with the very small amount of red lines, only to section 4 in that table, to the town on the 6th. I'm sorry it wasn't given to the board sooner. And I may just ask if the board would even like to have a meeting, prior to the 31st or on the 31st about this matter. Was just a special meeting with one agenda item being this IGA.
Let me see. We could meet on, Friday, the 31st. Friday, the 31st.
What is it?
I don't have to meet in the afternoon, but I can do it. At like 4:30.
Friday the 31st will be fine.
I'm open for that,
4 o'clock?
4 o'clock.
Sure.
Oh, we can't.
The Friday of the 31st.
I mean, if we have one item on the agenda, maybe we could do it. And just let you know that we've either passed it or what came up out of it, or. Anybody else?
You said 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock.
What time? Friday at 4,
But
the 31st.
We won't have REO. We'll just have to,
Okay, before we close this, I just want to thank our attorney for his, extensive work on this IGA. This has been a lot of work for a long time. And I just want to thank you, Seth, for all your hard work on this. Appreciate it.
yeah.
Trustee, I greatly appreciate that. I would also like to thank you for working through this. I came in halfway. We're probably even 3/4 of the way through the process. So I'm sure there are some catch up on my end, but I know that all of you have been involved since day one on this. So thank you.
So how are we gonna do Friday, 4 o'clock? You wanna just, we'll open the door, we'll do Zoom.
I'll Zoom for sure.
You'll help us with Zoom, get that ready. And then Seth, can you make it there?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay.
So we're gonna do this just as a Zoom meeting?
Can you guys make it? You can make it, Sean?
I don't know.
Possibly.
Yeah.
We need at least 4.
I have a good test I gotta schedule
Oh.
for this week. And I'm supposed to call first thing this morning, but they weren't in until the meeting started, so I'm not sure yet.
All right.
I
Well,
pick her up from school usually at 4, we go on ski stuff on Friday.
oh, right.
But sometimes it's 3:30, sometimes it's 4:30. I'll try to make it there.
Okay. Well, if you could just also review the document that you have, because we have. And you can let me know if there's any comments or anything before then. Okay, let's do it. Okay, next. Thank you, Seth. Seth, what was the other thing we had to discuss?
Did have an update, Mayor, as to the County Road T, the road to the pet cemetery, and its road closure, for lack of better status. I did have a discussion with Mr. Crowell on the 17th of January. This was the bulk of the discussion. And at that time, Mr. Crowell was really under the impression that this is a county road and not within the municipal boundaries. He stated that the county, that being the road and bridge, or himself, will be issuing a letter to the landowner. We kind of are in a small holding pattern. I actually do not know if the road is still closed. Is there an update you may have for me on that?
Well, we were gonna bring that up next, so I guess we can just move on to it with the landowners here. Speak, so we can, were you able to see the 2 letters that were written? There's actually 3 letters, because one was written from the county to Elaine and Steve, and then so there's 3 letters, right?
I'm only aware of it once from the county and our response.
But, there was the letter that the town wrote you originally about the emergency access.
Oh,
That's also,
That's from 2020.
I know, but that still came up in our packet.
Yeah, in 2020, there was a change to emergency access.
Do you send him this? You're gonna get the letter from the 23rd. Actually,
Do you want the letter from the county?
yeah, we should have both.
I have it here.
I have it too somehow.
I think you have my response. I don't know if you.
I saw the letter. I don't know where.
Do we have a copy of the county's response?
No, that's that's what,
No, we don't have this copy.
I somehow got it, but I don't know.
The ones you sent. The first 2, and this was ones I printed out.
Yeah. That is a response to that,
To this.
which I think is the letter that Seth is referencing.
You didn't get a response from the county?
Yes, at that time, I don't believe that a letter had been written. It was my understanding that was going to be the next steps of the county attorney. I do not want to speak for him, though, on that matter. That was just my understanding. He did ask just for some communication, if the town has any updates on the road, if any additional action needs to be taken, just to be in contact with him. And then also that the county has had a few of these actions to declare a road a public road, a county road, a thoroughfare. And at this point, he believes that if action will be needed, there'll be some request from the town. Some statements will be requested, affidavits, and possibly witnesses to pursue this matter. Once again, just getting into some of the legal issues. If that road has been used for a period of time, personal knowledge of the use, personal knowledge of additional use of the road, including maintenance of the road, what the road is used for, if that's an emergency access route for evacuation of the town, use of the road to access the pet cemetery, questions about when the cemetery was actually opened by the town, and how that access has been used by town and residents to access the pet cemetery. Just how that's occurred, and also that basically it's a public destination and it has been open to the public in the past. So the county was, in my opinion, going to be acting on a few of these things just through a letter at this point in time, hoping to resolve the matter. And I don't have an update further than that.
Okay, I'm gonna let Elaine speak real quick on her behalf and on behalf of the landowners. You may have to turn the microphone on with the little switchy thing. Pull it up.
Is it on?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, I just. In terms of that access road, there was years of confusion between the town and us, as landowners as to who owned that road and what the situation was. In 2012, the town got a survey and it clearly showed that the boundary of our land was to the cemetery, existing cemetery fence, and that the land and the property was ours. We granted permissive use of that land for people just to go to the BLM and do whatever. But there has been progressively more problems with it over the years. The camping out there, the shooting, the hunting, and a lot of just bad behavior. The tree mitigation, the trucks that were using it over our objection and so on was kind of the last straw. Closures like this have happened all over Crestone. Kizen, right through Kizen's property, used to go to Burnt Gulch. Through your property, Benji, used to go to Burnt Gulch. Scott Johnson's used to go to the BLM. Mary Meisman had a path to the BLM. Buck Reed to Bruce Sheldon went to the BLM. Nick Chambers went to the BLM. Melanie and Allen went to the BLM. The old dump used to go to South Crestone, and of course, the Liberty Road was closed. So this happens frequently that there's private property access to public lands, and for one reason or another, it gets closed. And I have to say to the town of Crestone, what is the purpose? What town purpose is there to have people going out on that road? You get the camping, and particularly when they close South Crestone and North Crestone, we're forever telling people to leave and trying to get them off there. That's how Thomas wound up there. His brother took him out into the Pinions and used that access road. So I think that the town has to really, really think about whether it is in the town's interest and the bulk of the majority of the population of the town to have access out there. Cemetery should be a place of quiet, contemplation, and not a shortcut to a shooting range. And that is essentially what that road is a shortcut to BLM. I know there's several things that were brought up. I saw your board packet last time, ideas about adverse possession. Seth can advise you on this, but adverse possession has changed a lot in Colorado over the last 25 years. And if you read it and look at it, the town will not qualify for an adverse possession claim to that property. You got the survey, you know where your land boundaries are, and adverse possession, although it was suggested to you, is not, I do not believe, a viable option. The access to the federal land BLM, and we've talked to BLM for years about this. We've debated closing that for years. BLM is happy that it's closed. You can talk to the sheriff or the ranger for the BLM. They are delighted that this is closed. Every single surrounding resident has called and thanked us or sent us cards and thanked us for doing it. BLM has closed numerous access routes to that area. And if you go out there, you can just see that just pathways with a sign, and BLM says, nope, can't use it anymore. They still have the entrance by San Isabel, so we're not blocking any access. It is more convenient and shorter to go through our property, but you still have legal access to the BLM over by San Isabel. We've been out there, and you can see it in the letter to Elvie, and cleaned up propane bottles, trash, people partying out there. And you can see by the shooting, if you go and look at the signs that we put up on the far end, they've all been shot already. And the shots are aiming to town. They're aiming to the cemetery. They've gone right through the signs. So this is not something you want to be encouraging out there. I would tell you too that Fred, I don't know his last name, in the Baca, is looking at starting a new firing range. And he's gonna be talking to the county and talking to the POA to see if there couldn't be some legitimate kind of place for shooting that would be a little more controlled. I know there's an idea of, should you bulldoze a road kind of inside the cemetery property and go out to the BLM? And I would tell you, be very careful doing that, because the BLM does not allow you to create new access. And our property on the far end is in fact the only access to the BLM out there. So if you just wanted to drive a road through the cemetery and access BLM will not let you do that. Access to the pet cemetery, that's, we talked to the town, we talked to Denise and Peter and everybody when they were doing the pet cemetery, and said, this is a problem that you need to find some other access, because at that time we were thinking of closing the road. I'm not sure why it was put on that particular part of the town's property, but the town has a 40-acre square there given to the town by the US government for the purpose of a cemetery. You can access your pet cemetery through your own land. It's within that 40 acres. And you don't need to, you just go on your land to your pet cemetery. You probably want to put a gate in the existing fencing of the small area that's fenced in, a gate in the southwest corner, and there's the pet cemetery. This emergency exit really sounds like a great reason why it should be open. But we had a meeting, and I know Kizen was on the board then, and I don't know if Kim was, but I know Kizen was. We had a whole discussion about whether it is safe to send people down that road. And if you've driven out there to the BLM, the sand is even deeper now than it was 10 years ago or 5 years ago. The rocks, it is really hard. In fact, we went out there not long ago and had to put the Jeep in 4-wheel drive because we were stuck. You cannot possibly be sending small passenger cars out that track. And if the fires came from the north, that is not the direction you want to send people. At that time, we said we would grant access anytime you could we'll cut it, or if you're there, you just cut the bolts on the fence at the end of Galena and go straight out. We will grade that again. You can see the road, but it gets kind of, nobody uses it, so you can't really see it. Steve will grade it this spring, and so it'll be a little more clear. That gets you right out to County Road T, and you're not, a little sand, but you're basically Chico, and you just go and you get right out of town, as opposed to sending people off. The letter in your packet was a letter written by the board in 2020, accepting our offer to use that as an emergency exit and agreeing that sending people out into the pinions is not a smart idea. And I think that's basically what I had to say about the road, and I'll answer any questions.
Well, again, we figured out that the land is really it's like having, like the cemetery land is inside county jurisdiction. When we first were talking about this, we didn't really have that understanding.
Unincorporated Swatch County, yeah.
Unincorporated Swatch County, so it's kind of like not really our fight, to tell you the truth, and I personally don't, I have mixed feelings about it. I don't necessarily feel that bad that it's closed. From my point of view, I feel like you're absolutely right. There's been a lot of abuse on that road,
Mhm.
and it's been kind of a ongoing issue for years. There are people in the town, obviously, who are on the other side and really want it open and don't think that it should be closed, but so we're kind of playing both sides.
Sure.
The other option I know that Steve had kind of mentioned was possibly subdividing it and then selling it to somebody. So that it was it would be like two sections that were broken off, and then there would be the availability of, he was like making.
You might be restricted for use of that land. And I have not looked into this, but I know that it was a federal grant of Forest Service land or some kind of federal land was donated to the town as a cemetery.
Sure.
It might be kind of restricted to that.
Well, I was
use.
thinking actually that instead of the county going through a whole process of trying to fight it or whatever, that might be expensive on both sides, that they should just figure out a way that if they want it open, to make an offer to you.
And I think it begs the question of what would be the purpose? I mean, other than giving a shortcut to, and in this town, very limited number, most of the people that have complained to us are from the Baca.
Mhm.
And so you have to really look at it, what is the good for the town? Encouraging camping in that area and access and that kind of stuff and shooting that close to town is probably not in the town's interest. So you really would have to look at what is gained
Right.
for the community.
Right.
If you did anything to
Right.
try to open a pathway out there.
Right, and again, I don't not necessarily think that it's, the town right now is actively pursuing that. I think it kind of got passed to the county, and now whatever they're thinking is kind of their thinking. It's not so much, like they're asking for us to maybe do some letters or something like that, but well, we would decide if we even want to do that, we would have to decide. How, the other thing is, this road that you're talking about that is accessed off of Galena that goes straight out as an emergency road.
Right.
I'm just curious on how the land works there, because I know it goes through your property to begin with, and then there's like an area that's out there is that the old train area, or what is it that, cause there's like.
It's not defined. The train did go through there. I'm not sure that, to be honest with you, I can't exactly tell you where that road, I get there and I just go follow it. I don't know where I even am on it, but you come out on our property, you'd have to go through the fence on the other end too.
Okay.
And you're back on County Road 2.
There's like a weird road.
Yeah, and we're working on that right now. There's an old
train.
Part of that train track is still, and that's something we're dealing with right now.
Stops, right?
It doesn't go anywhere. You can't identify it when you're out there. I mean, if you're out there, you don't know where the train track is.
And it's owned by American Water Development.
Right. AWDI, and that's that old group, and in fact, they didn't pay taxes. We're dealing with that in
Well, I mean, the reason I'm saying that is because I'm wondering if we could really create something that just worked, like we knew it was gonna work, like there was it's a little awkward to cut a bolt to get out there.
If things are really on fire, you cut anything and people just drive through it, and that's the way it has to go.
No, I understand. I'm just saying that I don't know, I've heard, complaints about that from people saying, well, I didn't even know that access even existed. What if people are driving out there and they don't have bolt cutters,
Drive through the fence.
what's that? Just drive through the fence?
Drive through the fence. If you're that dumb, you deserve to burn.
To not carry bolt cutters?
The fire department's got bolt cutters, but this is a crazy conversation.
Well, no, it's not that crazy, because in actuality, you want something that is gonna work for more people.
Well, and the town needs to do whatever they can to get rid of that identification back there as an emergency exit, the one by the cemetery, because absolutely the first little car that goes out there will be stuck and then everybody's lined up behind them.
No, I agree with that.
It's,
I mean, I've seen
it's a
that.
disaster.
Yeah,
But I think you can put that on, future planning kinds of things of what are the other options. I don't know what other option, we're not probably inclined to put a real formal road and an easement or do anything like that.
that's kind of.
We're certainly
Yeah.
willing to let people drive across it.
Okay, because I mean, when you look at it on, Google.
Oh, I've looked at it many times, I know.
It doesn't look like much is there. Yes,
So, just to correct what you said, the vertical access never did go through my property. It was alongside on, the property that's adjoining me is where the old road went, so it never did go through my property.
Oh, okay,
It was
well,
along,
somewhere up there.
right, it was somewhere up there, and it was
Yeah.
kind of next to me, so it wasn't actually, not our property.
I think my point is that if you had been here 60 years ago and saw all the roads that go into all because we're surrounded by federal land and everybody just drove across and it's really not the way it
And
works anymore.
part of that was creating a different route to go around, so that happened where the town said, okay, you can go this way in order to
Sure.
access that. So when an agreement was made with the property owner about to provide continued access, so that kind of got worked out, which is, I think part of what we're talking about is trying to work things out. The town does feel and was grateful for, being able to have an emergency, exit across your property. And I think we've all hoped that, I don't know, fill dirt or something, and then a gate that could be open to where if we had that situation, you're not just dropping off the road and having the little sedan get stuck.
Mhm.
And having, rather than just cutting fence, having a lock gate that the fire department could just open to where people can go and, even if they're just heading out into the flats, it's a way.
Well, when you're out there,
Away from-
there is a trail. You can you follow a little road and it just goes out
So
there.
I know from my going out there, to walk out there, I'd love to see some sort of an improvement where Galena has some fill or something that a vehicle could go and not just be immediately stuck, and a gate to where it's like an evacuation route, because we all know if there's a fire at the entrance in town, we're screwed. And so I'm glad that you brought up in here this understanding we had with the town about this could be an emergency exit, and I'd love to see, some improvements made, just so that it could be a viable exit and have that happen. As that road going across, I think all of us, and I'm sure you yourself as an old timer around here, there has been protections put in place over roads that have been used for a long time, and then all of a sudden a property owner decides they're gonna close off, and people either having access to their property or BLM or Forest Service or whatever, old routes that have been used for 100 years being closed off, and that's where there has been laws made that if there had been roads used, that there was like an established right of way, kind of, because they haven't been changed in over 20 years. And we have run into situations, that and all throughout the county and the Forest Service, it's like, oh, wait, this is an access for hunting, or this is an access for hiking, or there's a little trailhead up there. And so it's something to really be made aware of over established routes and not having these roads just closed because somebody said, oh, I don't want people going across that property anymore. I do hear you about what purpose does it serve. I hear you on that. And I'm looking at then, we talked about it at the last meeting of the town maybe creating its own access to the pet cemetery, stuff within our own property. And, I think that's really something for us to consider more. And I also am interested in what the BLM has to say about that sort of access across. Not just for town access, the town can create its own access, as you said, we've got the property, we can do this. The reason we're doing the fire mitigation in that locale is because our fire department experts, Daniel and others, said this is one of our most vulnerable places. And historically, how fires have come, we get this northern prevailing winds, there's old scars. You know, of trees that have been burned, I've seen them when we've done tours up, you know, down below the spillway, there's just old trees that got the burn scars. And he determined of the different areas around town where we're most vulnerable from is from that direction. So part of my concern is if we needed to get fire trucks out there, how's this gonna happen? You know, a few years back, I don't know, the BLM came out when they were doing the mitigation up the hillside there. And then they also went west of town with their big machines, or just chopped the trees down. And they did a lot of mitigation because they also recognized that western and northwestern is what made the town the most vulnerable. And so setting aside access of people who wanna just go four-wheeling. I just have a really big concern over fire trucks being able to get into a region to fight fires. This is why we're doing the mitigation out there. So how do we address that? I mean, I understand your concerns. I regularly walk my dogs out there, and yeah, there's trash and there's shop signs and there's bottles and cans and how do we address fire access? If that's what's going on out there.
Well, for the space where our access has been cut off, if you look at a big map with the cemetery is like that, you know, a border around the cemetery would probably make up for whatever access you don't have. That road it was not, and really, it's not something like a fire truck could get down it. So I don't know. I mean, it's a question. And it's a problem. If we got fires like they've had in Los Angeles, it doesn't matter what you do. You just get out, you know, so I don't know. But I think the places where our property, where there was a little road over our property are very rough and not necessarily something that any kind of a big vehicle could get on.
So how many feet from where any kind of a county easement ends?
I'm sorry?
How many feet along that roadway goes through your property from where you?
Or 300.
So there's like 300 feet is what you have.
Am I right?
Well, truthfully, I don't know the distance. I have a
I get
big map at home and, well, I think the map that was handed out to you guys.
You measure it.
Just roughly.
Well, it's two places where you go into the cemetery, is here in a place, and then it's town, and then it's back on ours, and then it's all town around the corner, and then it's ours again as you exit to the BLM. So kind of, I don't know, it's hard to say.
So it's maybe 500 feet, something like that.
Well, I can do it.
And then do you own the property after you go through the town cemetery? Do you own the property on the other side of it?
We're to the north, we are your boundary on the north, I mean, on the south and on the
Sorry,
west.
it's more like 600 feet, 650 feet.
So after you go through the town
Oh, and
property
then that one is,
and it exits to the north, Is that your property or no? You just border it.
I'll show you.
Okay.
Here's
This
the
is the
entrance,
cemetery.
and this is where you're going. So our road, see, it just kind of weird, it goes along here, it's in the beginning, then it's up the fence, and it's here, and then it's all.
That's about 700 feet right here.
So this
This
is,
is 700 feet approximately.
And then where?
so you own a little bit here.
So our property is all of this property and all of this property.
Okay, so you
So
own,
the road goes here and, but then over here, and your pet cemetery is like here,
right,
but the road, our road is here. And then back here,
and this goes through your property here.
and this is the only authorized outlet.
So the other starts here.
It starts kind of here.
Okay, so this
And
is,
our property, we have a little bit here, it's.
okay, so this here goes through your property. Okay, and there's a little bit here that goes through your property.
It's all through here and then here. And then this is the road that is all cemetery.
So, I'm wondering, I mean, my own thoughts, Elaine, on this.
We talking to your microphones, right?
So Elaine, my thoughts would be, I think all of us want to avoid any kind of court battle. So,
Deal advice.
I mean, we're all want to be good neighbors. So I wonder, since you're talking about you own a little bit of land, a little bit here, right through where we get to the pet cemetery is.
Mhm. Well, actually, on the pet cemetery, you go back into the,
Here, let me show you. Pet cemetery is over here, it's on
Right.
the town land.
Right.
They own, they own actually the road going up.
But that's
they're-
got an easement.
yeah. And then right here is where you turn,
Right.
and then it goes along here, and then it kind of diagonals right there onto our land, the town land again. And then the pet cemetery is right here.
Yeah, this is the pet cemetery, this is the town.
So one option is to, and again, we should probably talk to the engineers, but we could put a gate here. And a gate here entering into the cemetery and then run a fence line along that edge. So the
and people
cemetery.
don't take cars out there. I mean, the pet cemetery is not really used for vehicles.
So what I'm wondering about,
Well, the problem is if they do have to bury a pet,
Yeah,
then they're gonna.
and we have not, anybody can walk down there and go to the pet cemetery. We have no problem with that.
so what I'm wondering about is looking at what could be a solution, and as you know, the town is dealing with money, like, we don't have the money for road building, we can't even hardly maintain the road we have in town. And this is just my suggestion, this is not coming from the board, this is just me. Wondering if this section to where it goes onto the town property, if this was allowed to be open, and then where it actually exits the town at this point, that be closed. To where the town continues to have that sort of historic access to the pet cemetery, and it's after that point where it's closed. And that would give it the use to this is what's mostly been used. The rest of the way is four-wheel drive, pinion, whatever, the BLM doesn't care about that piece of property. So in order to allow the town without a lot of expense, we just can't afford it. We could look at building a new road, but really there's roads in town that we really need to put money on, and drainage and culverts and thousands of dollars of things that are not getting done. If this was opened again, it's a short distance. It's not where most of the problems are occurring. There's this access to the town, we could continue developing what we need to develop, have this access for the town. And then not let it exit onto where that road exits here on the, northwest side, and it's like, that's where it ends. The town has no vested interest in that being open. The BLM doesn't seem to have interest. I don't think there's any party who wants to fight about that. And this would actually allow, if we have to get, I don't know, it allows the town to develop more of its cemetery from, or the pet cemetery, or fire access. And it's just that one section that is kept open and the blockage is moved to the other end. So I would ask you and Steve to consider that.
I think we need a little bit of time. The fire mitigation created not great feelings between us and the town, so I would suggest, I hear what you're saying, Kevin, it might be a solution. I think we need a little bit of time past all that nonsense that we've dealt with, and we need to get Thomas moved, which is, I've told Mateo we will facilitate that happening by the 15th of February. Things need to calm down. We need a month or so to calm down, and then I'll approach it.
The other thing is, opening it. It kind of still puts the burden on you guys a little bit. I mean, it's like all of a sudden, it's not like you would say, well, we're gonna create an easement or we're gonna do a transfer of ownership.
Yeah,
So
that'd be
it's
permissive use of our private.
permissive use, but it's just, to me, it seems like it's always kind of it's still gonna become kind of a tension point, no matter what, because say people drove in there and then they have to turn around and they get in there, and we're gonna have a turnaround area because you can go in and there's no room to, what are you gonna do?
I certainly will consider it and appreciate your suggesting a resolution. And I think it just needs to kind of die down. Everybody's been kind of at a fever pitch about it, and the whole issue of the cemetery and mitigation and you name it, it's been kind of amped up. I think let it calm down a little bit and let me get back to you.
The other thing is, we have to do a cemetery expansion pretty soon, because we're running out of space, so we're gonna have to figure out how that's gonna unfold too. And so there might be some options where we just connect that road and then have.
You might want to expand west. That might be a really good idea. I want to say something about emergency exits. You really, really need to look at Living Wisdom and their exit, because you're gonna have all these people up there, people who are elderly, maybe they drive, maybe they don't. You have one way in. And if I had to just pick more of an issue than even the Galena exit, it would be Living Wisdom. And you've got to do something to get them another way out.
And I really put that, I agree with you, as that's a priority. And what I'm saying is to diffuse the situation. We've got people coming on us about access to the pet cemetery, and it's kind of blowing up. I mean, you're seeing it on Facebook, it's all blowing up. And if we had, there again, right where the entrance of the cemetery is, there is a natural turnaround parking spot. That's where people who walk their dogs, we all park right there and walk. I'm not driving down that road in my 4Runner. Something that says road closed ahead. Okay, maybe if we get a heads up. And we can, please consider that we then have access to that point where we go in, where it crosses the town property. And then where it exits that road off the town property, that's where it's closed. And I think that would really help the town's, ability to provide access to the pet cemetery, or that part of the town cemetery, where if we need mitigation work or fire department, or even just to go in there and clean up. And then it protects the bulk of your property. And we're in this little strip here, and I'm not saying that this is like the long-term solution, but this would give us a temporary solution that says, okay, we have access to this area to be able to go in, get out the dead firewood that's in there, be able to do the cemetery planning that we need to do. They're looking at road building or cemetery plots. It just diffuses the situation, gives access to the town property. And we let the BLM worry about the road that goes after it exits. And I think it would just diffuse the situation, and people who are clamoring at you are clamoring at us. And we don't have to look at trying to put money into something when you're absolutely right. This is a much bigger threat to us. It really is. So this is something I would ask of you and Steve to say, let's meet everybody halfway here on this. See what we can do for a solution.
We'll take it under consideration.
Okay, thank you, Lily.
Okay,
Any more questions, comments, concerns for Elaine or for the attorney or regarding this situation? Thank you. I think we exhausted him. Thanks, Elaine. Thanks for coming in. Okay. Attorney, do you have anything you want to say about this or from what you've heard?
I just wanted to share that really the next step I thought from the county was a letter. I don't know if that has been written, received yet. I don't have a copy of that. And I just guess I should say if this is to be considered a county road, the town can only do so much. The town can only promise or offer so much, even in that access. If the county decides to pursue a matter on their behalf, that may be out of the town's control and hands in some matter.
I agree. Okay. Anything else on your report that you want to talk about or anything for Seth that you wanted to bring up?
No, those were the two main matters that I wanted to discuss. And then I will be present on Friday at 4:00 for the special meeting that the board will be having.
Does the board have anything more they want to discuss with? No, okay. Let's move on to, thank you so much, Seth. Appreciate you working on
Thank you,
this.
Mayor. I will be signing off now. Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to go back to clerks or still wait?
Good day, Lily.
Thank you, Elaine. No.
I could do it quick, whatever, I just wanted
Okay.
to take it right.
So we're not doing an executive session, public relations, so now we talk about the public relations communication proposal for the town of Crestone. I thought what Ariel came up with was very thorough. Obviously, how it manifests is gonna take some time. It's not gonna happen right away, but there's definitely been some, some things that are happening where an issue comes up on, say, Facebook, which is the spot where it's coming up the most. And then it gets discussed and it's sort of like that, where that telephone game where it goes around and then all of a sudden it gets to the last person and the message is completely skewed. So I think what we're trying to do is create a little bit more, it's always the meetings where the information is happening. It's sort of like we're making a decision or we're throwing out a number or whatever it is. And the idea is that Ariel's already taking notes on it and she's already distilling it down. So it would be one more step to put it on the website, and then if people want to see it in Facebook, they go to the, anything that comes up, it's just like, we have somebody sort of more, on it, and if Ariel can't answer the questions that are arising, then we would have to, it would either come up at a meeting and we would figure out how to address it, or theoretically, she could work with, the just call one of the trustees for the mayor and start to, figure out how to say, you know, counter the claims or whatever that are inaccurate.
And then also in some ways, it's to like get ahead of the curve by letting people know what's coming down the pipeline in terms of what projects you're working on, the decisions that are going to be made in the future. If we write them earlier and put them in the paper or put them on the website, then people have more access and they'll feel more involved in the process. Cause mostly when I'm fielding phone calls from the town residents, it's that they feel like uncommunicated with, they feel uninvolved, they feel I've had words than like disenfranchised, like they're not a part of the process at all. So I just think communicating, maybe even over communicating rather than under communicating would be a little bit better towards building like trust and transparency with the town. Another proposal that I didn't necessarily write down here is that I think you should consider changing the time of your meeting and maybe the date. I've heard from a number of people that this isn't an accessible time for them to come and participate, especially when they're on the agenda. Most people are working during these hours. So they can't take off work to be here, and not everyone has a computer to access the YouTube channel and see the recordings afterwards. And to be honest, you know, looking at an 8 to 12 hour meeting on YouTube is daunting. You don't know where in the meeting anything is going to come up. I know that Leslie said the opposite and suggested that you should have these meetings in the morning, but I think for the benefit of building trust and transparency with the town, you should maybe consider having them later in the afternoon. And that's really all for my proposal.
Well, right now we're going on, 10:30, an hour and a half, hour and 35 minutes. I mean, some of our meetings tend to go 6 to 7 hours, you know.
If they were later in the night, I feel like there would be more inclination to go through them faster.
Possibly, if there's more people here, then we might have to field more, you
That's
know,
fair.
comments and.
Also, you're having 2 meetings a month at least. In this meeting, I mean, this month alone, we're talking about 5 meetings for the board of trustees. So is there benefit in maybe having more shorter meetings than longer and earlier meetings? It's just something to consider.
What's your,
Area, like your proposal. I know you and I have talked about it a little bit. And I don't know if it actually takes the board vote or whatever, but I would say, if you get in deeper with the county, there's a couple of landmines there that you should be aware of. And so maybe we can have, a meeting sometime and, you know, all of us or public works or whatever, and talk about those and how we would approach it.
Sure.
So, yeah, that'd be great. And anytime we can keep the public informed through our own website would be, it's a plus, you know, it's just up to them to look for it.
I mean, maybe we should, obviously just look at it. I don't think we should change it right away because it's a whole policy decision because we'd have to change update the policy, right? Or is that?
I don't know that there even is like a policy right now.
Well, I'm talking about our policy for changing the times of our meetings in our.
Yeah, and that was something we had discussed, looking at the rules and procedures. It needs to be updated by resolution anyway, and there's other updates I would suggest making to your meeting, for example, like having public works and the code compliance at the end of your agenda, I think is counterproductive. I feel like you should have all your reports towards the beginning of it. So I feel like that's something we should like deep dive into and make some red line changes and then have you have to change that by resolution.
So our homework, I think you should send it out one more time so that everybody has it just a standalone. And please go through that and just really look at every paragraph, we went through it completely during our planning commission meeting from beginning to end, and it was really helpful.
Would it help if I made comments on the actual document about things that I would
Yes.
suggest changing? Okay, and send that out?
As far as this, public relations proposal, um, there's things like the monthly Crestone Eagle column. I don't know if we've put that into the budget to have something like that. But since it's not approved, we could add it. But you see what it says? They said it's $50 for a column per month. 600 annually.
Well, some of those items I think we can talk about. But to go on our own website right now, I think that's fine. And do what we can there and then, I would say set down some rules, but, for lack of a better phrase, to be able to coordinate what's necessary and what's not, what needs to go to the board and what doesn't have to. I don't think you need to come to us for every little thing. It would just cause, it just wouldn't make sense, so.
What if we start a clerk's corner on the website itself so that you are already starting to write them? As though they were gonna go into the paper and not insert in the paper yet, and then start finding if there's misinformation that's out there. You kind of like maybe even take that, cut and paste it, put it in and then just fact check it. You know what I mean? So that it's, and then have that there, and then you can transfer that to the Town of Crestone Facebook page, which in turn gets put onto whatever site.
Absolutely, I would link directly to the Facebook page, just to encourage more people to go to our website in general.
Okay. And then we'll wait on the Crestone Eagle column for the moment. Yes.
So I think this is a great idea, I love it. And a couple of years ago, the town even put out like a little newsletter thing, but I think it's so important to have this out there. And I think, are we out for taking the initiative on doing this? As far as the Eagle column goes, the Eagle right now is really doing a promotion to find, see if individuals or businesses or whatever might want to sponsor particular columns. And so this would be the sort of thing that maybe somebody would be willing to sponsor this particular column and, put it out there. And, there's a lot of people crying for transparency, so maybe they'd be willing to sponsor that to make it be out there. So I think rather than trying to come out of our budget, maybe somebody would be willing to be a sponsor of Town of Crestone.
So you could add that right away to your clerk's column.
Yeah, I mean, it could be somebody, who wants to see that happen and be willing to pay to sponsor it. So I think that's something that could be explored, and I would suggest that maybe the town try this for like a month or two, and at the same time, at the end of the article, just say, the Town of Crestone News is seeking a sponsor, and maybe put out $100 for 2 months and see how that works and whether or not you want to continue it. Would be my suggestion. Or maybe on the,
Jenny, there's a sign-in sheet.
maybe on the Facebook page or on the website page where that article is, say that the town of Crestone is looking for a sponsor to go, this article go into the Eagle, so not even put any money out, just put it on the town website and on the town's Facebook page
Yeah.
and saying, wanna see this in the Eagle?
Exactly, that's what I was just.
And not have to put out any money for it.
I agree, that's a good idea, so let's let's start with the, you know, the low hanging fruit with your, proposal. And just see how it starts to unfold. Make it fun. Next, we're gonna go talk about this, maybe talk about it, Public Works employee applicant, Nicholas Chisari resume. Chisari?
Could we take a quick 5 minutes?
Yes, that would be great. 5-minute break. Be back at 11:20, please. Yeah, if you sure about. Just in case something goes wrong. Yes. Yes. Okay. This guy's security, so.
Hey there.
It's in my.
Yeah, cool, it's just warmer outside.
Warmer outside.
No, you're right.
Oh, I see.
I get it.
We have to do something out of
I see where the confusion was before. You were saying this will apply. This was. This is just 200 like 34,000. But you were. Yes, there was. So that brings, I don't know what that number is. It's 77.
Oh.
11. Well, the other number is 145,000. That was the county one here. That we didn't have anything. Anyway, so that's, you have to get the other stuff in soon, but I don't think it's possible. The minimum, got the language of 25 that you got. Well, 23 and 24 changing. We just need those ordered, we need the form, that's all, they're not gonna change our bottom line. No, they might. Depending on what we need to work. Yeah, because you don't know. So they can actually review later.
I don't like that. I think we should use it before because money, we actually needs,
Right, so you don't know what you're being left with, the strange story. That's what I was thinking, just the start of the moment. Yeah. Maybe it'll be a lot more.
So he's probably.
You know. It's his letter too. Elephants fly occasionally.
During the budget here.
I'm just gonna take it out of your head. Turn the heat on.
Is that a new design or is it what we've seen? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Not rolling into. Oh, I am. They're up closer to the- you can roll up to it.
It's the first time I've had anything right. It's just stuff in the wall.
We got all kinds of boards.
One set.
Yeah, they're every four, every.
We should get some kind of a, something to run them through.
Something, I'll look, see if I have something.
So I have all kinds of like. Plastic pipe, it's not really conduit, it's like sewer pipe or plumbing pipe of all kinds of different
It'd be
sizes.
nice to have something that if you hit it, you know.
So I do, if you ever wanna look, I've got a whole bunch of like pipe like this or, you know.
I do have those mats, okay, look, I have those mats that run course.
Oh, like for
For
public
stage.
events and things. Okay.
But yeah, if you have something.
Yeah, I mean, it's pipe, but it's not like, I've seen like at festivals and stuff, they
Yeah,
have
flat.
things you can actually step on, yeah.
That's what I. All right. We're gonna come back into session and start with this, C, new business C, Public Works Employee Applicant. Who wants to start?
Yeah, I'd like to, hold off on hiring any new employee right now. Need to do two things. The personnel committee, which is actually just the mayor and myself. I'd like to meet this person and talk to them and find out what's up. And the other thing is, more importantly, where we're sitting with the budget right now. I'd like that to be further on down, nailed in. 25 is looking pretty good, but still anything can happen. So let us have that opportunity to be able to do that before we make any decision on this employee or potential employees.
This guy to replace Brent? Just like another employee?
It would be our main employee, we only have Brent right now as the Public Works Director. He's looking obviously for somebody to, direct. But, that doesn't mean that right now we can. And last year we didn't have anybody for many months, and then we came right into the 4th of July and we hired Eddie. And then we hired Andrew to help Eddie up until a certain point, but now we don't have either of them, so Brent is directing, and until we figure this out, we'll probably just, you know, right now it's slow season on some level. I know there's things to do, but if he needs to do stuff, then it would be probably subcontracting some stuff if we decide to do that.
Say that again, I'm afraid.
I said we would have to subcontract some stuff if we decide to do any, well, if we should decide to do anything, we won't have it in-house.
What stuff?
Well, for instance, the upstairs has to be finished. So I guess our previous employee was working on it, but it wasn't working out, so there has to be some new plan for that.
So I have a concern with this, it's unfortunate that we lost Eddie. I mean, we had spent months paying Andrew to train him in those various duties, and I'm concerned that that information, the transfer of information is now lost.
I agree. It is. It's one of our biggest challenges, and it has been for the past, how many years since we've lost pretty much the whole office. We just keep losing that. And so,
I mean,
at some level,
as we know, Andrew has a tremendous amount of knowledge, and we brought Andrew back, after we kind of lost our public works employee, and he kind of graciously stepped in again and started managing things, and then he kind of left again, and then when we needed to train Eddie, he came back again and trained Eddie. And now, this sounds like a good employee, but there's still all of that information that pretty much lives in Andrew's mind. And how do we go about training a new employee with those things that Andrew knew? I mean,
well, I think, one of the objectives would be for Brent to take full command and really, figure out what it was. I mean, the nice thing about public works is there's a lot that's kind of obvious. There's definitely some hidden knowledge that only Andrew or somebody who's been in there for a long time, but I mean, for instance, maybe the museum is a good example, turning that back on. Do you eventually you're kind of put in that position anyways, right? Because of water?
Last year, there was no one here to really show me. I just went in there and figured it out. I mean, it was before we get hired anyway. And, yeah, I mean, I had to go in there and it had to come up, and I went over there and we got it up. I mean, there's gonna be a curve on some stuff. Andrew's been super helpful when he was here. Not only did he train Eddie, but he also trained me. He was showing me things also. So his pass out of information was super valuable, and it set us up for all these little tiny things that maybe we didn't see. He filled us in on a lot of that stuff. So his time here was very useful, and the training has not completely dissipated. The training is also here with Ariel, myself, Patty. We all have gained institutional knowledge that we need. So I would say that it was not a zero sum. It was definitely a gain for us in learning and getting this institutional knowledge and getting it in here. And our plan is to document all that as we move forward. So that if somebody does leave in the staff, then we'll have this knowledge for someone else. So not only are we taking care of the past, the present, we're also taking care of the future.
So there is gonna be some stuff that, you're gonna have to figure out over some time.
Yeah, and that's part of that, that's just, to me, that's part of my job.
Right.
Is figuring it out. I mean, that's what you have to do. That's a good thing.
So before you walked in, Dennis had brought up the fact that he wants to hold off on hiring for a little while for two reasons. One, it was the first year, you explain one more time quickly.
Well, we haven't had an opportunity to meet this person and our committee personnel committee. And also, we'd like to get a little bit closer to resolving the budget situation. I know Ariel is going to be in contact with the auditor and the bookkeeper. And once we get those numbers, it's make sure that they're not gonna affect 25 in any real negative way. And we proceed. I can't give you a date.
Would you like for me to, so you guys would like, you guys would like to have a one-on-one with the interviewee?
Or two on one.
Well,
Yeah, exactly, okay, yeah, okay, so, yeah, we weren't sure if that was what you wanted to do, but.
yes, just
certainly
more
can-
about that, and then Mayor and I will get
You
together.
can coordinate with me, we can make it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any more on that? Let's move on. We are. So Dennis has to leave at noon. Maybe we should discuss a little more of the budget progress, because, I heard you guys talking over the break that there was some numbers that are we gonna pass it on to her, Ariel now to take the reins on inserting that data that you're referring to as far as?
I picked up the wrong number from the top of the sheet. It should drop down to that line item that said capital reserve. And we were with 23, 24 numbers that had to be added to that 77,000. And that came up to that $230,000.
It's 230.
Is it something that you guys can? So what I would like to see is I would like to see a new format, the best we can do. Again, I know you're really good with finding things like that and maybe like a brand new spreadsheet that, and the problem is that all those calculate, no, you like that one?
No.
I'm just saying, it's hard to insert data into something that's old.
Don't put any data into anything,
No,
because we don't have the data to put in. We need the 23 and 24 information.
But we can put in 25.
We can't. Put in some. Let me say that. You could put some in.
Can't we put the line items in? Or are they not right? I mean, I'm just,
the request for the change in the format. To start with, was to take everything that was in the reserve, restricted reserve. And duplicate it in the format that 24 budget had been done. If you get a copy of the 24.
so that's just adding
Right
a
up.
whole set
Yes.
of rows.
Yes, and as I understand our conversation, we needed to clarify what, and some of it was obvious, as far as reimbursement. Like, for example, if you got a deposit for rental, that was very obvious, but there were some items that had no indication of what it was, what that balance had started out to, and where that money had gone. I guess we'll, hopefully with 23 and 24, we'll be able to maybe figure that out. But as far as that format is concerned, if we can start there.
We had another column when we find out all the CDs, or we have 3 columns for the 3 different CDs, or what would be?
Okay, there are no CDs on this budget.
I know there is.
Okay,
I know.
So
And the problem is that cash management needs to be activated. Like, the bank is very strict about that. I don't understand it.
But we have that information, I have the reserve information, I gave it to Andrea, she said that she inputted.
Oh,
Well-
Don't shoot the messenger, I'm
I
just
know,
saying,
yeah.
what I was told.
When we started, she had not gotten that authorization yet, and that's why I believe it was blank. So if that's happened,
I went to the bank and I asked them to give me that information regardless of the cash management system. And they did send that to me, and share that with her to input into the budget, because she's supposed to be working
Right.
on this with us.
I would prefer she leaves 25 alone, right? We don't want her messing with 25.
yeah, but we still need, we still need that information.
you need 23 and 24 to start 25 numbers, okay? Like the first line just says, beginning balance.
Right,
Okay,
beginning
so
balance.
You need to know what that number is. And you need to have all the amounts in bank accounts. there are still at least 2 bank accounts that were supposed to be opened a year ago that have not yet been opened.
We did open them,
Like, to the best of my knowledge, you have
unless
not.
we
You don't have a
unless
deposit
it
account.
stopped doing that because of that one, those signatures that we were missing.
I don't think it has anything to do with that, but I don't know that Kim opened any,
You did, I thought, I saw 2 more.
I never opened any bank accounts.
Right, so you're missing 2 bank accounts that need to get
One is the deposit for,
the deposits for rentals.
and the other's for a court.
And the court, and it makes it 3. Is the savings account, the sales tax.
Oh, surplus.
Account, so there's at least 3 accounts that have to be opened that are not there yet. And so there's information that you need to even start. The format that we had for the 24 budget is probably the general format. But now there are more lines that are gonna have to be added.
Right. But the format that was in the 24 budget was not even a spreadsheet, it was a Word document. That was one of the issues, is that we needed it into a sheet format.
Okay.
She basically took like
A
a
Word document.
spreadsheet and just typed it in, there was no calculations or anything, so. I'm not saying that those calculations are great,
No, but it's still. However they did it, we still should be able to duplicate it on QuickBooks.
yeah, but isn't that,
The other issue with that budget was that it wasn't matching your chart of accounts, so
Right.
it makes it hard to code and have things be applied appropriately. Wouldn't it be easier to just add what you're looking to add to what Andrea has created, rather than go back to something that
what's
wasn't?
the main issue in there, just. I mean, main issue in formatting,
To me, the main issue in the formatting is the monies that relate to payroll are spread in different places. So you don't know what you're spending for payroll, is 1. 2, the reserves are currently at the end of this format.
we need to go.
They need to be up higher, okay, and it's a frickin' nightmare to read. If you take the 24 one, it's basically 4 simple, I didn't bring them with me today,
I know what you're talking about.
but it's a very simple thing to read.
I disagree with you on that. I think it's much harder to read the 24 budget and understand where the things are coming from than the way that she formatted the one that we've been looking at. And I hear you on the personnel, but I also disagree because you know what you're being spent in public works versus what, and you know who's in public works versus who's in the office.
Well, the other formatting, or
I'm allowed to disagree, though, right? I'm allowed,
No,
so like, if I don't have to have an
no one's
opinion.
allowed to disagree with it.
Okay.
His name is Wording, don't forget.
the other thing is,
But yes.
you talked about,
Different views.
and I know in 23, we convinced the board. For what at the time seemed to be legitimate reasons to combine water and sewer with the rest of general corporate. And the conversation's been to separate out water and sewer to its own budget,
Again,
revenue and expense.
Separate out the numbers, it's still part of the general fund.
Yes,
So identify it as.
so. I think the best way to do this is for, like Dana was really good with the spreadsheets, so when
she was very
when
good.
Dana gets back. Dennis, we just have another work session and especially with Ariel this time. Make it a time when Ariel's totally available and focused, and then we all work together to really dial this in. Cause we can fill in those numbers later on 23 and 24. And we can adjust. The nice thing is when you adjust the numbers up there, it does play out. You know, like you don't have to do separate calculations. Isn't that better? To have the spreadsheet actually working for you as opposed to against, like where you add something and then all of a sudden you have to,
This one seems to be working better than past ones.
so there's some advantages to that.
Yeah,
We could take out some of the color, we could maybe take out some of the columns.
well, let's let's start at the most important part, and that is getting that 23 and 24 square.
Okay.
And then when we've got that, or maybe just prior to it, if we know it's coming, we can sit down again, get 4 of those 5 lists, whatever. And
I'd like to add a whole nother step for 26 too.
we probably won't be too far away from that. My guess.
We should honestly start on that.
You could,
I
well,
mean, we, of course, we need the numbers for 23 and 24 to come in, but like per DOLA, we should have already started working on the budget back at the beginning of January.
Well, by July, we should really have something pretty well.
one thing that's,
Um,
you know, I would like to see in every month. And again, this is another thing, is some kind of reconciliation where we now have 25 budget, and then we have, you know, the month that we spent, the year that we spent, you know, total for the year in each one of those categories. And then that will move into 26 budget.
For sure.
So it's kind of like we're moving from 24 actuals, it was 24 budget, 24 actuals, 25 budget, 25 actuals, 26 budget.
And one of the things, and it was just, we were at the end of the meeting and Warren asked, he said, how long in the past would it take you to do your budget? And I said an afternoon. Not months or years. And, you know, I mean, it was a different time and there were a lot more people involved and so on and so forth, but I thought about his question and I thought about my answer and I remembered that through the year, everyone, staff and elected officials, the utmost importance subject on their mind was the budget, always, at every meeting, at every commission meeting, committee meeting was the budget. And along with we call them financial statements, you guys call them profit and loss statements, that was also part of the packet. And as we progressed through the year, when we got to that near end of the year, it was there in front of you. Everyone was in tune, projects that were scheduled for the following year were already budgeted for and estimated for, and engineering was lined up, and it was a done deal. It was just a matter of putting it in writing and on paper, and that was it. We didn't have all the stuff that you got here now. It was done in pen and paper. So we should be able to do that. Let's start with 23, 24.
Okay. Next, let's go, I guess, let's go backwards, clerk's report real quick. Not real quick, but we're,
I'd rather not do clerk's report now, I'd rather do it in the 10.
okay, that's great. I understand that. Do we miss anything that was
Yeah, Jean's,
Denise? Yes, hi Denise. Yeah, that's,
Yeah, I caught a cold during the Christmas season. But this is in reference to a meeting with the charter school board. I did call them, write to them, and took a while for him to, for Thomas Clary to answer. But I thought maybe he was like overthinking it, that maybe he was thinking of all kinds of other details. But no, he sent me a letter and said, wow, you're excited. So the school board does want to meet with the town and negotiate or discuss a plan. And I have not spoken to him since, because I told him that I would have to go to the town and speak to you all to find out how you would do that. So you said one other day, it's possible that you would have a work session. But that would be meeting with the school board. They meet on Wednesdays, I think, I'm not sure. But you could either meet up there or you can meet here. And schedule a work session. But I'm not sure where to go from there, except maybe speaking to Tom Cleary and asking him what he already has in mind. Okay.
let me just say that, you know, there's some basic stuff that has to happen if we're gonna do any kind of land swap, and those are the things that have to be looked at even, you know, whether, you know, cause it's gonna be some lawyer work, basically, if you wanna annex that section into town. That's gonna require, you know, we're talking about budget and stuff like that, that's gonna require some work on somebody's part in order to write up an annexation agreement. There's gonna be some subdividing that's gonna have to happen. And then, zoning that's gonna have to happen. So you got three things that are, you know, budgetary items, really. And then, the other thing is based on our needs and their needs, and how do we sort of define our needs? And then the common, you know, so you have like towns' needs, you have their needs, the charter schools needs, you have property owners association over here. Then you have, you know, county can kind of be eliminated, although they have a whole thing happening down by the kiosk. They want to redo that section, which actually requires some of the land that is charter school land. So there's a lot of things happening simultaneously. And then there's some collective needs, you know, that we should be looking at. Maybe that road that we were just talking about needs to be planned in so that there's a way to, a secondary route into the Baca, but that's gonna require the POA to give up a piece of their land through that greenbelt area, which they've already done for the trail, but
What tract is that?
it's actually a greenbelt.
Okay,
So it's,
and it's beyond all the tracks? Track 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
yeah, it's Chalet one.
Shallow, yeah.
I mean, so there's a lot of parts. I mean, it's not just like,
Right,
just saying, let's trade this for this. It's like,
okay,
gosh, there's a lot. And so we really should, you know, as a board, we should look at our needs, number one,
yeah,
so that we can tell them. And I think my opinion is like Alder Street runs right into their land. So there should be some kind of look at how do we continue Alder if we're gonna open up a road. And then how does Alder how does that street match up into the POA and then match into the main road, which is a very complex
Yeah.
situation. I was talking to Bert about it, cause he was the one that designed that area that the trail network has that cuts in and it's a little parking area. And he said, if you're gonna put a road in, the road actually overrides that. So then you design something that merges with that so that it becomes, you know, this whole thing.
Or runs parallel to it.
Well, it would be parallel, but there would be, cause it's more where it merges with that, Baca Grant Way.
Right.
Cause if you notice, when you're coming down that hill, it's very steep.
Yeah.
So they put the parking lot higher up so that it's not as steep,
Right,
and, you know, and that's really the point where you would wanna connect the road.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
yeah,
It's tricky.
there's a lot of moving parts.
it's a lot of.
I'm really glad to see that the charter school is wanting to see this move forward.
yeah,
This is something we've been talking about for, I don't know, 8 years or something like this.
yeah,
And it would have a long-term benefit for the charter school, the town, and the greater community. And
especially if you could work together.
that, that's what's
You know,
hoped
and the
for.
planning so that you don't contradict each other's plans in any way.
So there has been.
A greater community plan.
So there has been different committees that have been formed to really look at this. I was on probably the first committee. And then time happened and COVID and all of that. Then there was a more recent committee that took place. I know you were on the command planning commission. And Benjamin's right, there's a whole lot of moving parts to this. That need to be hammered out and can be hammered out. It's
One of the biggest changes is that trail that got put in. I mean, Thomas is like, well, now it's like a natural, you know, divide, how does, you know, so theoretically you could have that trail break off into something else
Crossing.
across the street. I'm gonna bring up suggestions. I know, I'm just making faces.
So if there's a work session that's gonna happen, if there's a work session that's gonna happen.
Yeah,
I know I would like to be involved with it just because I've got a long history over this.
Yeah.
Benjamin certainly has a long history on this.
Do you have these notes for the committees that you have already gone through, committee meetings? Do you have notes on those?
I don't, I know Adam was very much involved with the last one,
Okay.
but we have an assortment of maps and we could kind of all gather our materials of, and so some work has already been done and we could refer back to that. Other stuff is like, okay, that didn't really work, so let's start from scratch again.
Yeah.
At least start closer towards the beginning, but,
Originally, there was a talk of extending Alder into Road T,
Yeah.
which was, so it'd go like that down.
yeah,
And that's, you know, and that was before the POA was involved.
so this is also going to require at some point the POA come in as a stakeholder.
Oh.
I mean, it's gonna be essential that the POA is a stakeholder.
And the county?
And, last time there was these meetings happening, the POA had actually declined to send somebody as part of a stakeholder, but things have changed. And I think that we would now, that the POA would be much more receptive to being a stakeholder. Because part of what happened is a land swap is that the property that would be swapped for, is something, is a piece of property, it's the only one that actually really connects town of Crestone and the Baca. And there are a lot of things that could use to happen as, say, community services that Baca doesn't have space planned for unless you're going way out on the T road. So there's things like the library or community centers, and there's a long laundry list of things people want to see. And so this property offers an opportunity to have a lot of these community services on there. And as Benjamin just said, it would almost have to be part of the agreement. If you look at Alder Street coming across, and then however from the end of the town property, it could cross over to Camino Baca Grande. There needs to be that road, because right now what we have is traffic from the Baca comes all the way down to the kiosk and then across, and then it comes all the way back up into the town, into the charter school. And we have long needed there to be a second access. And if there was a road that came off Camino Baca Grande, maybe just below where the trail is, who knows, you could decide that. That would come across through land that was community services. So if you have a community building, if you have the library, that there's traffic that rather than going all the way down, which is the kiosk is getting more and more congestion, that junction. To be able to come on across and be able to come in and exit onto Alder, you go to the post office, the grocery stores, and go to the charter school and go to the community services buildings. And it would also provide not just a second access, but also, it scares me to death, it was brought up today about living wisdom, but also if we have a community centers building, we got 200 people there, and there's a fire or any kind of an emergency.
Yeah, you need exit road.
How do you're gonna get everybody out through Lion Street? No, there needs to be another access into the Baca to where somebody coming in could just come across. And so that's gonna have to be a key part of this planning. Otherwise it makes no sense to create these large community facilities. So those are all of the things that are on there: annexation, access, how much land is being things, where utilities could go. It's a big deal, but it's the future, and it needs to happen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd be willing to print some maps. I've already done it probably like 10 times already.
Yeah.
And
Well,
keep,
maps.
you know, what we could do is draw it out, like the things that would be kind
Yeah,
of essential, how they map in, what already exists, because that trail network's not.
kind of alternate.
And then come to a work session with some more ideas.
Yeah. And I could ask the school to do that too.
Yeah. Or even just like, for instance, I think you know, everybody's like, well, the town should do this skate park thing. I'm like, town should not do the skate park. The school should do the skate park.
Okay,
But it should be in a place where they can kind of oversee it. So if we traded land with them, there's that trail that now winds down from
yeah,
the school. It could be in that section. So that they have, you know, a
Yeah.
visual on what's going on. They can have, you know, more connection to it.
and then there are limits from what Gayatri,
And then there's that. For Gayatri, you know, I have the letter.
yeah,
And he's basically saying that whatever happens, she wants to make sure that it's kind of in line with the foundational vision of her, because they donated the land to
well,
them.
education and community service, that seems to all fall into what you're all talking about anyway.
Yeah, it was educational purposes more than emergency.
Some things
And
like,
community service,
Huh?
and community
What is
service,
community, okay.
right, and things like the library is totally in line with that, because
yeah,
charter school doesn't have its own library. And to be able to have a library that's like very easily walking distance.
So then maybe the charter school, you know, because there's only 10+ acres of land in tract 1 and 25 acres, I
well, there's
believe.
8+ acres.
Well, it shows that, but then there's a road that kind of does that.
Okay,
If
yeah.
you add the road in, it's not there. If
Okay,
you add that in, it adds extra acres as
But
well.
those are all the things that we could talk about in the work session.
But what I'm also saying is that maybe the charter school would be willing to break off pieces for other districts as opposed to giving it to the town. It's just like the town works out what it needs, the charter school works out what it needs, and there's probably gonna be extra land
yeah,
that could be broken off as for districts, whether it be a community center district that has nothing to do with the town.
The other thing is that you did mention you wanted to do something with the water purification system. That was Andrew.
Well, there was a idea originally that maybe we could create our own pre-treatment plant,
Right.
but that's tricky.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, that's a need for the town, I think, if we had something that was,
yeah,
you know, catching the BODs before they went over to,
yeah. No, it's a really good,
I'm just bringing it up, this is what
and
we
it's
talked
away
about.
from the town.
Huh?
It's kind of away from the town. It's not in the middle of a living area. So,
Would it be cheaper just to find out where the BOTs are coming from?
Yeah, well, there's that. The other thing is, you know, we had a really interesting presentation, maybe 3 years ago. This guy came and he's been doing these small systems
yeah,
around. He's getting them approved. They're lagoon systems, which are supposedly outdated, but his, you know. And it was pretty profound stuff, and it was actually looked really cool too, as far as the way that it,
yeah,
yeah. And then there's another person here who has been working on big systems that wants to do a presentation at some point. So anyway, there's just an option, but having a,
yeah, you should probably include that in your mind,
yeah,
so that you don't forget it until too late.
anyway.
Okay, so for me to do, the next step would be to go to school and let Thomas know what the ideal is. And then leave it up to you to.
Well, I have a
schedule.
question to the board. Would you, Ginny is the chair of the planning commission. And usually we're looking for ways of finding things to bring to the, you know, put on the agenda. I mean, could it start at the planning commission area?
I think that's one of the reasons for a plan commission.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you Monday, but I thought no.
We talked about it for a while at the last meeting.
Yeah, I mean, we
Yeah,
could put it on the agenda and start looking at it a little bit and then.
That's very important, because I mean, I'm not really familiar with everything you talked about, so I would need that in order to.
So let's pass that to the planning commission.
You showed us everything, I don't remember all of it.
The map, yeah, the
There's a
map.
lot of stuff.
I think having,
Yeah, you were showing us in the map.
no, but I think having them on a piece of paper and we can draw on it.
Yeah,
And then if we don't like it, we scrap it and start again. I would, next planning commission meeting, which is next Monday,
yeah,
I will bring maps too.
okay. Okay,
Is that okay with the board? I mean, it's kind of a board decision more than it
Can we
is.
invite like
Speaking for
someone
myself, yeah.
from the charter school board to that meeting?
I would, let's work on it
Let's
from
work
the
on it
town point
first,
of view first and then move on to that afterwards, because then we can kind of brainstorm.
Yeah, that's-
Oh, yeah, okay, good,
all right,
perfect.
thank you.
Thank you, Ginny.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for
Yeah,
initiating it
yeah.
again. For the 8th time.
Word.
All right, moving along, you're almost at noon.
2 minutes.
Do you have a report or anything that you wanna share? Are you, water department or planning commission or not? Public
I
Works?
think I sent you guys an update on the flow meter. Sent you guys all an email earlier, last week, and I sent you a letter today regarding, potential hire.
Yeah, so what, as far as the flow meter, what's your suggestion on the next steps?
Well, after, like in my letter, I discussed, I mean. We could put more money into it and get this, do the option of the laser meter. They're willing to share the cost of it. It's $3,000 for our portion of it, and the numbers that I saw are in line with what as a town we are sending to the Baca.
So wait, our numbers or their numbers?
Their numbers, so basically I took their numbers and Chad and I, we did an estimate. We estimated using industry standards outflow. Their numbers line with our numbers. Or, I'm sorry, with our estimates. Their numbers are, whereas our flow meter is showing, it's not even close. It's way off.
So is there a person that we worked with that, you know, could go in there and say like, well, this is what's wrong?
I've had 2 technicians. Okay, we went in, we had 1 technician go in because we ordered the wrong parts. Whoever was here
Yeah, 'cause it was-
before ordered the wrong parts. So we had 1 calibration. I got another technician just to make sure. These are two technicians that have been used by the Baca and were well recommended. We came in, we got a final calibration. That final calibration, is not lining up with their flow at all. So all I know is that our estimates line up with their flow rates. The Baca's flow rates, whereas our flow rates are not right. There's issues,
Our flow meter and their flow meter are light years apart in what the gallons.
and whoever spec this meter, this meter, what happens is, as a low flow situation comes in, it quits reading. And this is what I've gotten from both of those technicians. I've gotten it from Chad. Whoever spec this meter that we've got, they should have known that. They should have known, and we as a town have a lot of low flow time. So I think what is happening is we're not reading any of this flow below an inch. So I think really, and this is what Chad, and I'm like, Chad, this is really way off. He said, well, this is really the only possible explanation. And I've talked to these technicians, and I've talked to ORCs, I've talked to our ORC. I mean, this is not something this is something that the consensus is, this flow meter is really not designed for what we need. We don't have any high flow, we have very low flow most of the time, and it's not reading it.
I have one more question. What are the chances of there being, I coming in between?
Well, that's a low probability. I mean, that's just,
It's
between those 400 feet between the 2 meters.
Yeah, Burnt Gulch,
Yeah,
just goes right between it.
there's, I just say, I don't think that that's what we've got going
Front
on.
Gulch is on the other side.
If,
Front Gulch,
if we saw in our monthly
it goes right through the
report,
middle of that section.
Well, let me just bring up, so this summer, we had a storm. I just installed the meter and we got a storm, okay? It was a big storm. I went down there an hour after the storm, as soon as it stopped raining, and I took measurements. I took 3 measurements, so I took them an hour after the storm, 2 hours after the storm, and 4 hours after the storm, just to see if we had any increased flow, just to see if there was any I, at least on our side. I saw nothing, there's nothing to indicate that at all.
But I'm talking, yeah,
There was no
I'm
increase.
talking about between the 400 feet, yeah.
I talked to Chad about that, and I mean, could be, yes, there's a chance, I would say it's a low chance.
yeah, it's probably on the bottom of the total.
Yeah, it really is, but it's not, you can't rule it out completely, yeah. And I even went and looked just to see if maybe we had missed a piece of the system, maybe, because there is a piece of the system that's right here on, Cottonwood, that's a proprietary system that somebody put in and paid for
Oh, right.
with their own funds. So I wanted to look just to see if maybe we're missing a piece of the system somewhere. I could not find anything. I inspected manhole, I didn't find anything.
Brent, I truly gotta get going, but we're very, very close to signing this agreement, with them. And, for myself, it's a big deal, you know. I'd like myself and the board to have a better handle on what we're doing with this, with these readings and how we're gonna handle it, and also with the BODs. I don't want that to fall into a category where it puts us in violation with the treatment authority. So if you can lean on that a lot more and maybe meet Chad some more. Hopefully, I know Friday is real close, but, I would just want all of us to have a better idea of where we're at.
So one thing was to have, so you have 1 meter here, 1 meter here, we were talking about that third meter being like and that's what you were referring to?
That would be, I mean, if you guys are set on taking an action, that would be the next logical
And it's only
action.
it's $3,000
Well,
on,
it's just an estimation, we've spoken, but yeah.
I've got a question for you, Brent. If we were to bring in a third party just to measure and find out where the discrepancy is, and I believe what you're saying is true about the low flow, and be able to, mathematically calculate an estimate as close as we can get on that, what that low flow is, put it together with what we're actually recording, and see if those numbers come now closer to Baca,
Yes.
then we wouldn't even have to install another meter. It might be something we do quarterly or
Well,
twice
this-
a year or something.
Yeah, this would verify the Baca flow, if we did this would verify the Baca flow meters, and it would verify ours, one of the two,
Would it be less-
it would be a third, and it would be a temporary thing that we could do.
And would it be less expensive?
It would be, than installing another meter, yes, it would.
And also maintenance wise too.
Yes.
I mean, it would
Yeah, I
just,
mean, it would be a one-time thing, we'd have a technician come out, install it for about 10 days. And from what both of the technicians that I talked to had the same suggestion, so this is a totally viable one.
and theirs is like the most accurate, theirs is gonna be the,
Well, it would be a third, there are limitations to all these flow meters in certain regards, okay? This is a little more accurate in certain situations, so it's a completely different technology than what we have and what they have, let's just say that. So we would be implementing a third latest, basically a laser technology, and it would measure it. And then we could actually verify, we could say, oh, our meter's right, oh, Baca's is right, whatever, it would definitely settle that.
but it also gives us some idea on what the volume is on the low flow.
Yeah, yes,
And that
yes,
part-
it would do that
That
too,
part would be important.
yeah,
Cause if they come together and then they're closer to Baca's reading, I would feel more comfortable.
Yeah. and it would be the cheapest thing to do, and any other thing to do.
is that something that we would want in this contract as another line item? I mean, I know it's kind of already in there.
We
Well,
wanna take that into consideration for sure, yeah. I think so. I mean, I don't think it's gonna change much. Just off the top of my head, as far as what our intergovernmental agreement is.
Well, I'm just thinking that we could have one more line item that says that, you know, until we get like an accurate understanding of what the flows are, because we spent,
Maybe we should put in there if, that if there's any adjustments, if we do this, you can put in your agreement that we can do this thing, and if there's any changes that we would wanna make, we reserve the right to any changes based upon, on this, third.
There's something in there pertaining.
there is
to that.
something.
This is something already in, so I mean, that would be, and I think.
But I just hate going into this contract knowing that we've got already a discrepancy and the ink is running dry.
And
It is a little,
we had said that we were gonna use the town meter with the original contract. I don't know where we're at with that, but we should look, but that was the point, is like, if we're the one off, like, we can't use our meter, so it automatically is gonna be against the contract.
I'll,
What's the gallonage difference?
huh?
What's the gallonage difference?
It's like 10 times.
It's huge.
Sometimes
It's not even close.
it's not even close.
Okay. And
And it's,
They both use different measurements too, our meter and the.
yeah, they're different, they're different.
What do you gotta say, Warren? I wanna hear what you have to say.
But they both have limitations too. You know,
the biggest problem, and it's in the contract, they're using numbers, they're anchoring numbers. Seth said they're just an example. They're not just an example. People anchor on those numbers. It's like 30-something%, 28%, okay? They've got 750 people out there, they've got the retreat centers that have hundreds of people at a clip. We've got a population of 150 with only 80 people on sewer. A fair number of those are only seasonal people.
You're right.
There has to be some proportionality between what's going on in town and what's going on there.
there was
Imagine if we find out-
there was proportionality in the readings that we did see that. In other words, when we had high flow days, both of the meters would reflect that proportionality, but they were way off. Okay,
How can they be wrong?
that's our big question.
Okay, I mean,
That's our big question. I've explained the different reasons why they could be off.
no flow.
Those are the reasons, so. We've troubleshooted it down to this, now we have to take actual measurements, I mean, that is gonna be that's our next go-to.
I'm sorry.
I mean, can you, I mean, can you imagine if like, I can't stay awake, they were off all the time, you know?
They probably have been.
I know, well, I mean, we've been
Well,
trusting them.
I don't think that's right, because there are ways that ORCs estimate flow, and we estimated the flow using industry standards, and their numbers line up with the estimate.
Thank you,
So
Dennis.
the discrepancy
Dennis,
seems to
please
be
reach
on
out
our
to
flow.
the attorney.
I am.
That's my
Tomorrow.
Okay.
It's the one that's still showing the low flow, and I think that's the reason why. I'll tell you what I can do is I'll talk to Chad. I'm gonna follow up, I'll see, I'll get a proposal, I'll get the numbers down, I'm getting this third flow meeting, and then we can, I
Okay.
think that's where we need to go.
Yes, I agree.
I'll get all that nailed down, I'll try to get it by the next meeting,
Okay,
we'll see what we can do.
yes, we have to, that's really. I see Daniel Gray, you wanna speak for a second? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. If you go to the Baca Grande Water and Sanitation District website, there is an engineer's report. They did a study about the Crestone wastewater collection system. And the long and short of it is that they didn't find any leaks, and that the proportion of water going to the wastewater plant to the portion of potable water you guys produce was right in line with all of the Baca Grande's numbers. But I do suggest you go read that report. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dave.
You have the report, I'm sure. No, if you don't, maybe,
Yeah, I haven't looked at the report yet.
I guess, is there no correspondence? water department code compliance, nothing, we'll get that. All right, I think I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Okay, all in favor? You guys. Thank good evening. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Sometimes it's sometimes it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
You know, going forward, one step back, we're still making progress.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
Is our Zoom done?
Definitely better than the